2 days later, I got a letter in the mail saying, you can't have a special meeting there until you come in front of us and get a request, and it has to be voted on by the trustees in a regular trustee meeting. Fine. Linda explained that took all of our flexibility away. So do we have some meetings there, some meetings here? So it just got to be a mess. We said, let's have them all out here. That way, if we have to change something or whatever, it's all up and good. So if you wanted to change it, go to the township trustees and say, give these people some flexibility. Nobody was using that building. We were there for maybe 10, 15 minutes when we had that special meeting. We were scolded. I could show you the letter. And the other thing was, I just recently retired leadership of the Boy Scouts, 25 years. For 25 years, I fought screens. I started out fighting Game Boys and all that stuff. And then I started fighting computers and TVs. And then I started fighting smartphones. My goal was to get those kids out, away from the screens, out into the wilds, into the wilderness, into the parks, into whatever. We have all this parkland, and we have access to 2 parcels. There's no trails on anything else. I want to just make it so that we're overwhelmed with access to the green space, so that I can take those kids. You know, we'd come out here, we went to the Westwoods, we'd go all these parks and stuff. If we don't have access in our local community that's easy, you lose a little bit. And so that was one of my goals when I got on the park district. It says very clearly in our goals and in our bylaws that it's recreation. It's to provide access for the residents, for the taxpayers. So that part of it, in my mind, was ignored for the previous 30 years. The only reason they opened up the park over at Russell Uplands Preserve is because they got a grant that specified, and a previous commissioner told me this. He says, the only reason we've got a trail there is because we have a grant from the federal government that says we have to do this. If they didn't get that grant, there wouldn't be trails at the Russell Uplands Preserve. It would be a drive-by park. You'd have the green space. But that's not what I was about. So when I got on here, I said, we're going to open this up, and if we have an opportunity, that we saw this opportunity on Dines. It's 2 10-acre parcels, because as you know, there's a river runs down through the creek. You can't do anything on either one of those parcels. So if there was a way that we could leverage that without changing it, no matter who owns it, into something that might be developable, we could expand the parks. I had an idea to get an expansion of the park and make trails so that we have more access for kids or whoever wants to walk. So that was my reasons why I was on this park board. It wasn't to buy this land, put up condos over at Madru or all that other stuff we were accused of. I just wanted to make it accessible to everybody. So thank you.
Okay, thank you, Charlie. Howard, it wouldn't be a meeting without you standing up here and talking to us.
I
Come
remember
on
when
up.
only one person came to the meeting.
Well, I can't remember who that person was.
As far as the passive parks go, way back when I bought some of the first property, which is 30 or 40 years ago, the concern wasn't to have the open spaces so people could enjoy and recreation about it. The real reason I went and worked with some people at Jones Day and with the National Land Conservancy was that there is no public water in Russell. So our goal was always to protect all of your water, because if some maniac gets in here and digs it up or destroys it, everybody's going to be hurt. So the idea was, well, we'll have the trees, we'll have the water, and we'll let everybody can enjoy it by looking at it. And what they're called and that's how the passive park zoning became about. It wasn't to hurt anybody or help anybody. We wanted to buy as much property as possible, as fast as possible, because the faster you buy it, the cheaper it is. That was the whole goal, to buy it as fast as possible. And luckily, there were some angels when there was no money. 2 or 3 of us got together, a couple older gals that were friends of mine, and they basically were footing the bill for all of us. But the goal was to protect the water. No, nothing else. We didn't want to have pastures to look at or trails or whatever. We wanted to protect all of your water because the danger eventually, what'll happen in these rural areas without central water plants was, well, there's a huge aquifer under here. And there's maps, and I'm sure everybody who works in the park system knows, because different townships we paid in Russell and other ones to the government, and they have test wells. That's how important it is to see what the aquifer where we're sitting is protected, and that was really the goal, no other reason. I mean, it would be fine to have other uses if you could, but there's always a danger that some dummy comes out there and dumps some gasoline in the river, and that will affect all of us. That was the purpose.
Thanks, Howard.
Thank you.
Eileen?
I want to thank everybody for your comments because I did not understand all of the different viewpoints, and I think I hope it will promote the kind of unity that I think all of us love so much in Russell, because I had an opportunity to make a lot of money a long time ago and sell my land, and I wouldn't do it. I refused. I wanted that land. I love those trees. I love it being green. And that's just the way I think. But I will respect other people's viewpoints. And knowing how they feel, that helps me to say, I can respect how you think differently, but I still feel the way I do. But anyway, thank you all so much. This was a wonderful meeting. And I appreciate you just all expressing yourself, so I have a much better understanding of everything. Thank you so much.
So I just want to make one comment.
As long as it's
So going forward from this point, so that we can work cooperatively with each other, so it's not such an adversarial. Now, we've heard from the judge who left that no selling of parkland in Russell Township. Is that clear?
I think he said the county.
In the county, but, okay,
Anyway.
so, all right, so we have it from the judge that he is not approving any public parkland sales. So how can, I think, can you, is there a survey you can do to really see how the residents, instead of being on a park board, deciding how, like, Madru should be developed? You know, maybe the residents, all they want is a parking lot and a couple of walking trails, you know, and not have any other infrastructure built.
I believe Judge Grindel's group did that for the county.
Well, for the county, but it's Russell Park, so we need it for
Right.
Russell
I love that you
Township.
brought that up, because that was one of the things that always bothered me.
I mean, the county
You
is
know,
the county,
when the
Russell is
Madru
Russell.
thing was going on, you know, this survey that Dr. Berkeley would talk about, well, that survey was like 300 and some people. But yet every time that, you know, they talked about the survey, you know, it was only 300 and some people out of 5,000. And my big thing was, as a park commissioner, I agree. I want to do what the people do, but at the same, or what the people want, I'm sorry. But at the same time, I'm thinking, well, if there's only 300 people, that ain't the residents. I wanted to try, and you remember, I was
We've had that
asking
conversation.
if we could go door to door and drop off flyers, you know, a questionnaire, you know, that they could mail back to us, a stamped envelope, because I just was not, I wanted to know what the majority of the Russell residents wanted, and
Well,
300 people, to me,
think
just wasn't
What I
enough.
can-
think the
if I can
survey-
interject something,
Can I just
just-
say something? I think the survey that we filled out as a Russell residents on how we want to live in Russell, that what we value in Russell and the green space and just the peace in the land around us. That's why we're here, that's what we appreciate. And also Russell has an aging population. And we are not, my rock climbing days are over, you know, and my dirt bike days and mountain bike days are over. And I think I'm pretty representative of our community, age-wise. What is valued to me is if you're gonna have that piece of land, is to just simply peacefully walk through a piece of property.
Well, to answer your question about a survey, professionally, I've done many surveys for corporations, so I'm very familiar with the survey mechanism and what it takes to do a survey. This monkey survey that's out there is valueless, because one person can go on that 20 times. There's no credibility to it in that regard. So when you do surveys, you have to do hard surveys that are